Okay, so here's a couple problems we didn't get to in class, but let's go back over what is required when we're solving a word problem containing a variable in your homework. So the first thing you have to do is define your variable. Now this might seem like a pain to sit there and write let x equal, but what it allows you to do is to look at the problem and see what information is it that I'm really trying to find. The next thing you need to do is write a variable equation. So that means that you have to have a variable in this problem. There are a lot of ways you can go about this using computation, but this is an algebra class, and so you do need to use a variable. You're then going to solve that algebraic equation, check your solution, and we learned how to do that in your calculators today, and label your solution. So let's look at the first problem. Ms. Vogenthaler predicts that last year's math students will solve 9/10 as many equations as this year's students. If this year's students solve 3,870 problems, how many did last year's students solve? So we need to find what we're looking for. And in this case, so let's let x, and can you see what we're looking for? They've given us this year's students, so that's not an unknown. So that wouldn't be our x. And then it says, how many did last year's students solve? Oh, there it is. How many did last year's students solve? So we'll put in how many problems Now I know that's what I'm looking for. That's the unknown of this word problem. And as you get better at this, it's actually going to make the word problems much easier to approach. So letter B is to write a variable equation. Okay, well, we know we have an x. So Ms. Vogenthaler predicts that last year's math students will solve 9 times as many equations as this year's. Oh, so that must be our x. So we have 9/10 of x. If we have 9/10 of x, what will that equal? 3,870. Now, awesome. We have an equation that looks like what we did in class today. We have this 9/10 here, and we want that to be 1. So we're going to multiply by its multiplicative inverse. And if we do it to one side, we need to do it to the other. Oops, I did 9/10. I didn't find the reciprocal. This is what happens when I do these when I'm tired. Okay, let's try that one more time. So, times 10 over 9. Now, we want to cross-reduce if we can. So let's look at 3,870 and think about your divisibility laws. Is this divisible by 9 or 3 or some way we can reduce this? And I don't think it's going to become a fraction answer. Why would I give you part of a problem to solve? So if we add the digits, 3 plus 8 plus 7, we get 18. Oh yeah, 18 is divisible by 9. So we're going to just reduce by 9. And now that you have your handy dandy calculator, please feel free to use it. 3,870 divided by 9 gives us 430. 430 times 10 is 4,300. So x equals 4,300. Okay, we're going to put that back into check. So just put it into your calculator. Remember to store x as 4,300. Put it back into this equation to make sure you get the right answer. And it does check. So we've checked the problem. Now we just need to label it. 4,300 problems. Woohoo! Word problems will become much easier. Let's look at the next one. 25% of a first-year medical intern's paycheck goes towards student loans. That's probably not an exaggeration. If they pay $23,000 a year in loans, what was their salary for the first year? Okay, so we need to come up with an unknown. So let's let X, and let's see, here it is right here, the first year's salary. Okay, so we need to come up with a variable equation that meets this, finding this first year's salary. So 25% of, it's a really good keyword, and I like to circle or box words that I know have a mathematical meaning. The word of means, you can say it out loud and look silly that you're talking to your computer, it means multiplication. So we're going to have 25% of the first year's salary, so times X, is going to give us 23,000. Oh, missing a zero there. Sometimes I feel like my paycheck is too. Anyways, so there's my 23,000. Now I can't solve it in this format. How do you divide 23,000 by 25%? It's just not going to work. So I need to do one of two things. I need to either turn 25% into a decimal or a fraction. If I turn it into a decimal, it's going to be 0.25. If I turn it into a fraction, it's going to be 25 over 100, or 0.25, 25 hundredths. Oh, we got that. Let's turn that into a reduced fraction, or 1/4. I like 1/4 because it looks a lot like what we've been doing in class, so I'm going to use that. So this becomes 1/4 x equals 2,300,000. See? Keep cutting him short. Doctor's making enough money. Once again, I'm going to find my reciprocal or my multiplicative inverse. I'm going to multiply both sides by 4 over 1. That looks like a 7. Let's fix that a little bit. Over 1. If I do it to one side, I do it to the other. 4 over 1, which is really just 4. So I can kind of reduce by 1 if I want. And I get that x equals 92,000. Now, letter D, I'm going to check that. So I'm going to say 1/4 of 92,000 is 23,000. And I'm put that in my calculator, and it does check. And then I just need to label my answer, 92,000 per year. So that gives you a way to start separating these problems, and this ABCDE is going to become a requirement. So really get into the habit of knowing, let X equal, set up your equation, solve, check, answer, make sure you have that label. So I appreciate all of you taking your time to look at this, and I hope it helps you with your assignment. Have a good night.